Everybody, Rich with Prep You outside the bunker, just kind of hanging out in my normal spot for any firearm legislation update. It just seems to be a nice little comfy cozy to basically most of the time push forward some very bad information. Hey, before we really get started, I'm going to apologize right off the bat. Um, I'm going to be quoting from several different articles, several different things that I wrote down, which means I'm going to be jumping back and forth. I'm going to basically be in the beginning here sticking with the lawsuits against the rifle and magazine ban in the state of Illinois and the different cases, both federal and state. So we're going to be jumping back and forth a little bit. Then we're going to get into something that a lot of people are saying that this law and another law, which was the Safety Act, which they're going to be reviewing on the Supreme Court level this week, I believe the 15th. I've got it in here. Um, they refer to these coming through as shell bills. And we're going to kind of talk about what a shell bill is and why it can be good and why it can be bad. We're going to go over that. Then we've got some uh, nationwide legislation we're going to look at. We're also going to look at some other Illinois legislation that the Illinois State Rifle Association is involved with. So, like I said, I apologize if it seems like, oh, wait a second, Rich, you're going back and forth between the cases and stuff like that. I'll try to make it as clear as possible, um, as clear as it can be um, with what's going on. But what I want to start with first is I want to start with an article um, that kind of goes over why the two attorneys in these different cases, both on the federal side and then on the state side, why they're differing in opinions. They don't see eye to eye at all. Um, and in this article, kind of goes over why. So let's take a look at it. So we both know that you have Attorney Jerry Starks on the federal level for Representative Calkins, and then you have Thomas DeVore on the state side and his, and neither of them see eye to eye on how fast these cases should proceed. Jerry Starks with Representative Calkins like the fact that they're going fast, all right, because they don't see the reason to hold back, delay. It's unconstitutional. It says it's unconstitutional, and the longer for what they believe in, the longer it waits, the more harm that causes to people in the state of Illinois, and they don't feel it's right that DeVore is only really worried about his plaintiffs who paid him the money. Now, that's not per me, okay? Everything I say here, I've got no pony in this race at all between these two. The only pony I have in this race is making this unconstitutional and getting rid of the ban. Um, but DeVore states that there's no reason to push this, go fast. And he says, because we've already got a TRO on it, several TROs, even though, as Calkins says, they're not statewide, although he believes in the case in Macon County, with making it unconstitutional, it should automatically be uh, stopped as if the law never existed. Of course, the state, Kwame Raoul, and the governor say that's not how it works. Maybe if it was at the circuit level or the state court level or state Supreme Court or the federal Supreme Court level, then yes, it would encompass all. But they don't believe, and that's where it really differs going to the state Supreme Court, because the state requested the case to go on the fast track to the Supreme Court. So that was kind of a synopsis, but let me read to you what they said. So, like I said, the attorneys differ on the state level challenges to the Illinois gun ban. We know about that. And that DeVore criticized the speed of Stock's case in moving to the Illinois Supreme Court right away. Okay, that's students are in the state, all right, in the state cases. Without a record, without having them answer any questions, without them doing the work that really needs to be done just to drive it home and to make this thing as ironclad as we can make it, DeVore said on his YouTube channel on Saturday, which is a good YouTube channel if you want to check it out, that we need to take it slow and make them answer why they are doing things the way they do. The state, why did they put this forth? Why did they, not follow the 3-read rule? Why did this, law start out as an insurance uh, bill and turn out to be the rifle and magazine bill that it turned out to be? DeVore says Stocks is playing into the state's hand, and he's the one developing a record to take it to the Illinois Supreme Court, meaning that DeVore feels that the record he's making along the way is much better way to go to the Supreme Court than fast forwarding it as Stocks is trying to do, and he's playing into the state's hand because the state asked for it to go right there as fast as possible. DeVore says there's no benefit whatsoever of rushing this case to the Supreme Court, not for the gun case and certainly not for trying to get something done to alter how laws are passed in Illinois, which benefits much, much bigger issues, ladies and gentlemen, than a gun issue. So you can see right now that what DeVore is doing here, this is an important case, but it's not the big picture. DeVore is looking at the big picture, and in a way that's right. I mean, you can't have tunnel vision. Sure, do we want to get rid of the rifle and magazine ban? Absolutely. But how did this happen in the first place? Did it happen because of state laws allow it to happen? This bill and the Safety Act and other ones that have come down, and the proposed bill for serializing ammunition that we talked about last week in it. So he's looking at a much, much bigger picture than just this gun and magazine ban. Stock says such a record isn't necessary. Representative Calkins, and Stocks is his attorney, said there needs to be finality to the question for all sooner than later, not just a few who join the lawsuit. So you can see there's a little animosity, a little bickering back and forth between all these people, Calkins told Center Square, the longer we stay under an unconstitutional law, the more harm that it does to the people of Illinois. This is a case that clearly abridges our constitutional protections, and that's their feeling. Calkins and Stocks feeling that it's unconstitutional. There's no reason to wait back. We need to kill this bill and worry about the other stuff later, which may happen. All right, coming up. So we know that it's going to the Supreme Court because the Illinois Supreme Court last Tuesday agreed to an accelerated hearing schedule for the state's appeal of the ruling that struck down the state ban on certain rifles and high-capacity magazines. All right. The state, Kwame Raoul, requested an expedited schedule after Macon County Judge Rodney Forbes ruled Friday that the ban violates the equal protection and special legislation clauses of the Constitution. Dan Calkins of Decatur, state rep, the lead plaintiff in the lawsuit, contends that under well-established Illinois authority, Forbes' decision means the ban is void, as if the law never existed, and is unenforceable in its entirety in all applications. So he's saying it should be totally thrown out. We talked about that, okay? And that's why they're pushing to get to the Supreme Court right away. And the Attorney General's office said the circuit court ruling is not binding on any other judges the way an appellate or Supreme Court ruling would be. Calkins' attorney, Gerald Stocks, on Tuesday declined further comment on the issue. And I think they're declining because the state Supreme Court has already accepted it, okay, to see where we go. So our focus is on the next step of this litigation will be expedited wrote in an email. All stakeholders in the subject matter may benefit from an expedited appeal. All stakeholders, states, stakeholders, people, stakeholders, who? Not really sure. But Pritzker's spokesman said, "We're pleased that the Supreme Court has agreed to hear this case quickly, and we are confident this law will be upheld." In addition to placing this matter on its May calendar, so the rifle and magazine ban goes onto the May calendar, the Supreme Court gave the state until March 20th to file its written argument with a response due by April 13th. So obviously there's a lot of paperwork on both sides that has to be done. So if nothing happens, just as a reminder, if the Supreme Court upholds this, I'm sure it will be appealed to the whatever next level court it is. But starting next year, people who possess guns covered by the gun ban must either register them with the state or face a misdemeanor for the first offense and a felony for subsequent offenses. So there you go. So that's how this whole thing is playing out. So the state case is going to the Supreme Court in an expedited way. But how did we get here? How did we get this bill that nobody knew was coming? It was just off to the side. It was just not going anywhere. They needed some way to bring it through. Some people are saying it was how do I say this? I don't want to say it too fast. That the insurance code change was a shell bill all alone, that this bill was going to be put into it, and then at the third reading in the Senate, I believe, okay, the House had already read it 3 times under a different name, went to the Senate, was read twice, changed, then items in the bill were changed. Okay, there were certain things, and if you want to know what those were, you can go back and see some of my videos in regards to this early on. The third reading, they changed the name to the PICA, Protect Illinois Communities Act, okay, away from the Insurance Act, and that's how they tried to say that it violated the 3-read rule. And as I told you in an earlier video, that many people down in Springfield said very rarely is a minor thing like that, even though it's against their proceedings, does it ever kill a bill, hurt a bill, or whatever, the 3-read rule. So, and that's where it came up. So what do they call these? They call these shell bills. And basically in the House and Senate, there are 6,545 bills filed for consideration. Many of those are what is referred to as a shell bill. State Senator Steve McClure, Republican of Springfield, gave his take on shell bills. All right. Shell bills can be used after deadlines have passed to get sometimes important bills passed, but more often than not, they are used to ram a piece of legislation at the very last minute, where you can change the bill's number by attaching an amendment or a brand new shell bill. There you go. State Senator Maurice West, a Democrat out of Rockford, said shell bills can help with last-minute fixes that are needed to state law. As we know, a lot of people don't want to know how the sausage is made, but this is part of the process of getting things to the finish line, State Rep West told them. Many dozens of shell bills range from various topics that can be very simple, as they forgot a word, or they need to change a word from they to them, to different kinds of things. You can do that, but some are where they slip in legislation that's totally different. State Senator Maurice West out of Rockford said, "Put your mind at ease in terms of this trying to be a run around over you," West said. "It's just part of the process and how we get things done. And at the end of the day, let us see what the results are with these shell bills. And that should give you pause or give you comfort in the process." It gives me more pause than it gives anything, to be honest with you. And it's funny that they say, or he says, let's just see how we get things done. We don't know how these things get done. We see the end process. All right. It's a ways to an end that we may not like and they like. It's a great way to get things put through. It is a way for them to hide all the witness slips. Where have you heard that before? Hide all the witness slips that are opposed to a bill. It is a way for them to be less transparent and try to sneak things through. And I think the people of the state deserve better than that, said Representative McClure. And he's right. He's very true. That's what happens with these shell bills. It's kind of like the shell game where you never really win. You can never really find the pea under the little walnut shell. Well, that's the thing. All these things get passed. And like Nancy Pelosi famously said one day, well, we have to pass the bill to find out what's in it. And that's basically what happens. That's how bills like what we're talking about, like the Safety Act and the, PICA, that's how stuff like this gets passed at the last minute. And I believe that's what DeVore is talking about, to be honest with you. There are much more important things. Not to say that the Safety Act and PICA is not important to get rid of and change and make better, but the process needs to be changed. So he's got a very good point. So hopefully, regardless how this goes down, that DeVore can continue and get the process changed. Does he have a chance? I don't know. There's a lot of D's behind people's names down in Springfield, and I have a strange feeling they don't want to. They like it the way they have it. They like to be able to make the sausage the way they like it, no matter if we like the taste or not. So I think that's, a major issue. Shell bills are very dangerous, and you're going to hear more and more about the shell bills as time goes on, I believe. All right, so other laws in the state of Illinois. So one of the things, let me just say this real quick. I found this very interesting. In the Macon County case, when Pritzker was asked about, and Kwame Raola asked about the fact that they found it unconstitutional. One of their comments was that at the time of the adoption of the Second Amendment, citizens only had flintlocks. The U.S. military only had flintlocks. They weren't even a military then, but they only had flintlocks. And the comment back was, what the state refuses to see is that technology changes, but civil rights don't. And that's a very good point. I mean, this is a right. This is, this right protects all the other rights. I don't care what you say about it, but it does. So I just thought you'd find that interesting that they're saying that, we're supposed to stay with flintlocks. So apparently, I guess we're supposed to still be riding horses and not have cell phones, not be able to text, not be able to fly, all those kind of good things, that you're supposed to have. It's a very silly argument in the state of Illinois. All right. From the Illinois State Rifle Association Bulletin on March 6, 2023, they talk about some other cases. Miller et al. Versus Smith et al. Miller is the plaintiff, as Smith is the acting director of the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. Okay, I reported on this, only that I thought it was only going on in California. But as California goes, it's apparent that Illinois goes, and the state of Washington is also going both the ways of these two states. But anyhow, this is just in the state of Illinois and California. Foster parents are stripped of their Second Amendment rights by bureaucrats. If you are a foster parent, you cannot have a firearm in your for your defense or for the defense of those in your care. Even if no child is present, the rule still applies. There are no exceptions. This case is on appeal to the Seventh Circuit. And if ISRA wins this case where it allows foster parents to be able to have a firearm in the house, obviously locked, protected, and concealed carry, it will affect laws in 44 states, basically, because it's with the Seventh Circuit. All right. Florida, House Bill 543 is the permitless carry bill. Looks like Governor DeSantis, it will hit his desk this session. All right, and it's been passed by both houses. It should be signed. All right, Nebraska. Nebraska is seeking to get closer to permitless carry. If both Florida and Nebraska pass their respective bills, that would mean 27 states would have some form of constitutional carry, and that's pretty cool. On a bad note, and I brought it up a little bit earlier, the state of Washington is turning into, thank you, Ryan, a total shit show for firearm owners. There is so much to talk about in the state of Washington and the state of Oregon. It's absolutely ridiculous. I would, if you live in those states, God love you. I wish you well. Put up the good fight. Keep it going. Um, on other news that kind of revolves around the Safety Act and the and PICA is the fact that Governor Pritzker gave $2 million to two U.S. Illinois State Supreme Court candidates for their election, and both of them won. So, what does that mean? So, Pritzker donated $2 million to then Illinois Supreme Court candidates Mary O'Brien and Elizabeth Rockford, $1 million each. But 2 points on this one. In 2022, the governor signed a law that capped contributions in such categories to $500,000 from a single person. Despite that, to each candidate, $500,000 came from each of Pritzker's political campaign and his irrevocable trust. Okay, gray area, right? Well, also, the Illinois House Speaker Chris Welsh, a Democrat from Hillside, is also a top donor to the justices, with O'Brien receiving $350,000 and Rochford receiving $150,000 from the People for Chris Welsh Fund. Okay, guess what? They both won, and now sit on the bench of 7 at the state's highest courts. This was, for those of you that don't live in Illinois, and or those of you in Illinois that don't follow this part, this was highly contested, and there was a good chance that their opponents, Republicans, were going to win those seats until all this money started flowing in, because it didn't flow in until the very end. And they were able to really push forward on a lot of advertisements and a lot of mailers and a lot of walking door to door and stuff like that. So they're on there, which the court now is very, very one-sided, as all things are in Illinois. And a gentleman named Chris Forsyth with the nonpartisan Judicial Integrity Project out of Colorado said trust in the political system is crucial in American society. And a lot of people are saying that Pritzker and Welsh bought the votes for their for the bills and the laws and stuff like that they're pushing. Forsyth told the Center Square, if we don't have confidence in the opinions of judicial branch issues, then our judicial branch is failing. Political donations can lead to issues of judicial integrity, and the United States Supreme Court has said so. In some cases, they have found political donations to be so grave that there is a conflict of interest that is impermeable. And $2 million seems like pretty impermeable conflict of interest. One solution to appease perceived conflict is recusal, which that's what many are asking for them to do, is not vote on either of these or make judgment on either of these laws. Another is oversight. Oversight in the state of Illinois is pretty much non-existent until the powers that be have used you and they don't need you anymore. I'll just say the word Madigan. Very, very powerful. They don't need him anymore. He was a liability. And now you know where he's at. Additionally, when warranted, it is the responsibility of the Judicial Inquiry Board to file a public complaint against a judge with the court commissions, the board website says. The Constitution mandates that all proceedings of the Judicial Inquiry Board shall be confidential, except the filing of a complaint with the court's commission. So I don't know if any complaints have been filed. We'll find that out, but we won't find out if they went any further than that or just went, whatever. It's the state of Illinois, remember that. And what did Pritzker say about that? He basically said that This is ridiculous. He didn't buy anything. So, responding to questions about the donation, Pritzker said it was ridiculous to suggest that anyone who receives money from him should have to recluse themselves. Of course he would say that. Let's see, what else? What else did Jelly Belly have to say? If you're suggesting that the fact that I gave money to, let's say, the Democratic Party or the committees that support candidate means that everybody who received any money has to recuse themselves from doing anything with the state of Illinois, that's ridiculous. Pritzker said at an unrelated event in Springfield. And I've certainly never asked anyone to vote a certain way. Wink, wink, nod, nod, 2 mil. Or decide on a case in a certain way. I would never do that. I never have and never will. He's also the guy that took toilets out of his mansion so he didn't have to pay taxes on it. So there you go. Well, that was interesting. And here's another thing about the rifle and magazine ban. And one of you subscribers, I can't find it, otherwise I would give you kudos for this, made a comment to me about they had heard that the Illinois State Police is enforcing the rifle and magazine ban by when a concealed carry holder gets pulled over, they're asking them what they're carrying and how many rounds is in the magazine, which they can't. Opponents of Illinois' gun law on Wednesday said that they are seeking clarification on whether Illinois State Police are enforcing the law that was deemed unconstitutional. State Rep. Patrick Windhorst, Republican out of Harrisburg, said the state police should clarify if they are enforcing the law pending appeal. If they are actively enforcing this law, why are they enforcing a law that the courts have deemed unconstitutional, Windhorst said. So, subscriber who brought this up, thank you. Thank you very, very much for bringing that to our attention. I actually seeked that out, and that's what brought this article in. Of course, the Illinois State Police did not immediately respond to whether they are enforcing the law. Well, they haven't responded at all. So immediately, the way this is written is not correct. They have not responded. It's like, okay, guys, troopers, stop. We're not going to admit to it, but stop. But just to end this section, okay, because see, I told you I was going to be going back and forth. This is the Illinois Supreme Court hearing order. It is ordered that the motion to place appeal on an accelerated docket pursuant to Supreme Court Rule 311B is allowed. The state Supreme Court said in a filing Wednesday. The record on appeal shall be filed with the clerk of this court by March 15th, 2023. The appellate's brief shall be filed on or before March 20th, 2023. The appellate's brief shall be filed the appellee's brief shall be filed on or before April 13th, 2023. The reply brief shall be filed on or before April 27th, 2023. Oral arguments will be scheduled for the May 2023 term of the court. So there you go. So we know it's going to be filed on March 15th. The appellant brief shall be on March 20th. The appellee's brief shall be filed on or before April 13th. Reply brief shall be filed on or before April 27th, and oral arguments are scheduled for May 2023. So there you go. Illinois in a nutshell. Crazy. All that kind of stuff. Let's talk about the rest of the country. Let's talk about West Virginia. Approves concealed carry campus bill, joining 11 other states that allow it. It passed 84 to 13. I think that's fantastic. These are young adults that have their license, have the ability, the state allows it, they should be able to carry. Absolutely, no matter where they're at. Just like the Illinois Rifle Association is trying to get the part where you cannot carry in the state of Illinois on public transportation. They're trying to get rid of that. What's the most dangerous place one of the most dangerous places in the Chicagoland area, public transport. All right. The Iowa Cherokee School District will now allow some teachers and staff to conceal carry. This coming July, individuals must be approved by law enforcement and administration and must attend monthly trainings. I'm changing school districts. All right. I'm going to Iowa. I love Iowa. Iowa's great, especially if you like corn and the place where Field of Dreams was the movie was made. I'm going to start working for the Cherokee School District. That's fantastic. Ohio legislature passed a bill over the summer that also allows concealed carry in school districts. There you go. North Carolina announces plans to add AR-15s to safes placed in schools to beef up security. I am definitely in the wrong state. North Carolina, so they have these safes that are around the schools that can be accessed by personnel trained, and now they're adding AR-15s to beef up their security. Nice. All right. And as we said before, apparently some state police officers are asking motorists with concealed carry how many rounds do the mags hold in their concealed carry firearms, which is not good. So there you go. That's some of the stuff going on out there legislatively. I'm sure I forgot a bunch of stuff, and I'm still always searching the web to find out stories about what's going on in your state. I am only the extreme tip of that great big iceberg in what's going on out there in the world. I didn't even talk about California. I didn't talk about stuff going on in New York. We barely touched on Washington and Oregon. Michigan, they're talking about following in the footsteps of Illinois and Colorado and other places. New Jersey, I don't even know what's going on in New Jersey anymore, but we know what's going on in Texas and Florida, which are good things. And we know what's going on in Iowa and Nebraska and different places like that, and Florida, which are absolutely fantastic. But before I end this video, I would be totally remiss without doing a major shout out to two groups that I ran into at the range. One group was 6 guys. They were shooting on the low side. You know who you are. I think you guys were shooting in 4, 5, and 6. I think that's where you were shooting, or 4 and 5. But at the end, when you guys were all done, you turned to me and said, "Hey, aren't you Prep You? Aren't you Rich?" I said, "Yeah." And all of you, every single one of you said you were subscribers. Well, I truly appreciate it. I just wish you would have said something when you came in. Anybody that comes into the range, tell me that you know me. Say hi. I want to say hi back. Talk to you. Get your feelings about our channel and stuff like that. And another group I want to give a shout out to, it's 3 guys. Last time I saw them, they were shooting on the high side. And one of you just got your first firearm. Absolutely fantastic. Congratulations. And you did shoot pretty well that day. He had some questions, which I really appreciate, because we all know there are no dumb questions in a range. No matter if you ask the range supervisor, the range safety officer, or the guys next to you. There is so much information you can gather from other people that are shooting around you. It's absolutely incredible, and everybody wants to help. I don't care who you are, how old you are, what you know and what you don't know. We are a great community, and we're a community that has to stay together when we're in the range, just like when we talk about legislation. So shout out to those 2 groups, very much so, and shout out to all the other subscribers that have said hi to me. Sarge, haven't seen you in a while. Hope to see you really, really soon. Miss seeing you, talking to you. And for the rest of you that are subscribers, thank you so much. Those of you that aren't subscribers but just watch my videos, thank you very much. Keep commenting, keep liking. If you don't like it, tell me you don't like it. Tell me I missed something. Tell me in this video I was too confusing. I was going back and forth way too much. And I need to stop talking because it's late and I need to get this video uploaded. So, but thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Please say hi the next time you see, or if you're not coming in the range, just wave. I'll wave back and say hey to you. If you see me on the street, same thing. A lot of teachers are subscribers where I work, and then we're always talking about different stuff. So thank you very much, And you know, we always end this video to remind you, always be aware of surroundings no matter where you are. Carry as often as you can and where legally you can do it without getting in trouble. Please have water, medicine, food, and ammo enough to shelter in place for months, and if you have to bug out. And please, please prep like your life depends on it, because it really does. Thank you very much. Take care. See you next time.